Welcome to the deep dive. We're here to crack open the research and really pull out the key insights for you.
That's the goal.
So, we often look at city skylines, see these tall buildings, right?
Yeah.
But there's usually a much deeper story etched into, well, all that steel and glass.
Absolutely. And today, we're diving into Boston, a city everyone knows for its history, its colonial past.
Yeah, the Freedom Trail, all that.
Exactly. But it's also a city that went through this really dramatic transformation that literally reshaped how it looks and feels.
So that's our mission for you today. We want to unpack how Boston went from this, relatively modest profile.
Surprisingly modest, yeah.
To the towering city we see now. We'll get into the big urban renewal projects, and pretty controversial, and this whole push and pull between preservation and, well, radical change.
We're basically giving you the shortcut to understanding that evolution. Lots of surprising details, and maybe the why it matters behind it all.
Think of it as exploring a city's soul as it changes over time.
And you'll see how things like urban planning, economics, social shifts, they're all tangled together. Buildings tell a very human story,
Okay, so let's start peeling back those layers. Boston's skyline. For most of its history, it was pretty humble, wasn't it?
Yeah, very much so.
Yeah.
You'd think of church steeples, maybe the Custom House Tower from 1915. That was kind of it for height.
And the key thing here, the really crucial detail, was this height limit, 125 feet.
Right, which sounds incredibly low now, but it kept the city's profile really constrained for decades.
All the way up until the 1960s.
That rule really defined the city's physical character. But then the 60s and 70s, that was the turning point.
Things started to change.
Exactly. The building codes evolved. That 125-foot limit, it got lifted. It was partly about economics, wanting to compete, and partly this new architectural vision sweeping across America.
So the door was basically open for building up.
And the first one to really break through that old ceiling.
That would be the Prudential Center, the Pru.
The Pru, yeah. 52 stories. That wasn't just another building. It was like a declaration. The first conspicuous change, as some sources put it.
Really pushed Boston skyward,
Yeah.
signaling this huge shift to, modern verticality.
And then, not long after, you get the John Hancock Tower. Finished in 76. Even taller.
Completely overshadowed the Pru, in terms of height anyway.
It's amazing how fast they went from being these maybe controversial new structures to just being the Boston skyline, defining landmarks.
It wasn't just about height, though, was it? It was about Boston saying, we're modern, we're a major player.
Absolutely. Shedding maybe a bit of that old provincial image, competing nationally, economically, shifting from just a historical hub to a modern financial center, too.
Makes you think, doesn't it? How does literally reaching for the sky change how a city works, how people even see it?
It's a deep question. And while this vertical growth was happening, something else massive was going on down on the ground.
Urban renewal.
Right. These really ambitious programs started taking shape around early 1958. Federal money was often involved, giving cities huge power to acquire land and redevelop areas they called blighted.
Which brings us to a really difficult part of the story.
Yeah, the West End. It's a painful example.
What happened there?
It was this lively, dense, working-class neighborhood, lots of families, tight-knit community, and the city basically razed it.
Raised it, just cleared it.
Entire blocks just wiped out. Something like 2,500 families displaced, people who'd lived there for generations sometimes, all to make way for Charles River Park, these new apartments.
Wow.
It's just a stark example of the human cost of some of these grand progress plans. It left deep scars in the city's memory.
I bet. So the public reaction must have been intense.
Oh, absolutely. The outcry over the West End was immediate and powerful, and it genuinely forced the city planners to change course.
So it wasn't just a blip. It actually shifted policy.
Definitely. After 1960, you see this pivot. The language changed to renewal with sensitivity. The idea, at least on paper, was to move away from just tearing everything down.
More towards integrating new stuff with preservation. Building around history instead of over it.
That was the new philosophy, yes. And you can see the ripple effects of that decision, even now. So in this new climate, they started building Government Center.
Okay, with that very distinct City Hall.
That iconic, maybe controversial City Hall from '68 at its heart, surrounded by federal buildings, state offices, private ones too. It was about stitching this big modernist civic area right into the city's core.
And it's interesting how it sits right there near Faneuil Hall, isn't it?
Yeah.
That really old part of the city.
It is. That contrast is very intentional. You've got this modern government hub right next to the historic marketplace. It speaks volumes about that blend they were aiming for.
A mix of eras, side by side.
Exactly. And that idea, renewal with sensitivity, wasn't just for downtown civic projects. It played out hugely down on the waterfront, too.
Ah, right. Because the waterfront needed help back then, didn't it?
Oh, yeah, it had become pretty neglected. But during the 60s and 70s, a lot of money, public and private, poured in to revive it.
And this time, they didn't just knock everything down.
No. And that's the key difference. Those historic old warehouses and buildings along Atlantic Avenue, they were largely preserved, renovated, reused.
Ah, so that's that philosophical shift in action.
Precisely. The area was then opened up. You got commercial spaces, new housing, restaurants, parks. It became this really vibrant, mixed-use district.
So people started living and working and just hanging out down there again.
Mm-hmm. And at the same time, you saw the financial district nearby starting to sprout its own new high-rises.
Reflecting, I guess, more confidence in the city's economy.
Totally. It was all interconnected. These developments together really remade the downtown core into something much more multifaceted. Not just 9 to 5, but 247 living, working, playing.
It really shows how smart development, or at least more thoughtful development, can bring an area back to life.
And reflect those bigger economic tides, yeah.
But the changes weren't just downtown or on the water, right? Other neighborhoods were changing too.
Definitely. If you look into the 80s and 90s, you see transformations in historic residential areas, like the South End.
Okay, and what was happening there? Was it the same kind of big redevelopment?
Not quite. It was less about massive demolition and new construction and more about careful renovation, architectural restoration, really.
Focusing on the existing buildings.
Yeah, those beautiful Victorian brownstones, the charming Morrow streets, they got a lot of restorative attention, which sounds great, right?
Sounds lovely, yeah. Preserving the history.
And here's the complexity.
Yeah.
This meticulous renovation attracted a wave of new, generally more affluent residents.
Ah, so the neighborhood got nicer, maybe prettier, but the people changed.
That's the pattern. While the architectural beauty was preserved, it triggered gentrification. It wasn't just about buildings. It fundamentally shifted the demographics, the culture, the affordability of the neighborhood.
So even trying to preserve a place can inadvertently push people out. That's
It's the ironic dilemma, isn't it? Improving a neighborhood can sometimes price out the very communities that gave it its character in the first place. It always makes you ask, who is this renewal ultimately for?
That's a really important point. So bringing it all together, walking around Boston today, you really do feel that history mixed with the new, don't you?
Oh, absolutely. It's almost like time travel sometimes.
Yeah, like you see Faneuil Hall, Quincy Market, these, almost medieval feeling public markets buzzing.
Right next to gleaming glass towers.
And you're walking down these narrow old streets, maybe cobblestone, hemmed in by facades that are centuries old, and then bam, something brand new.
That contrast is everywhere. It's what gives Boston its unique energy, I think.
Its soul, maybe. This blend of really deep history and this constant process of reinvention.
Yeah, it feels like a living city, constantly evolving but holding on to those layers of its past.
What a fascinating journey we've taken. We went from Boston's surprisingly low-rise past.
Right up to its soaring present.
We looked at the really complex story of urban renewal. The good, the bad, the controversial, like the West End.
And then the shift towards more sensitive preservation, like on the waterfront or in the South End, with its own set of consequences.
It really highlights that constant tension, that balancing act between holding on to history and embracing the modern.
Hopefully you've had a few aha moments listening in, maybe seeing the stories behind buildings you recognize or understanding the sometimes unintended results of these big city plans.
Yeah, and just seeing how a city is never really finished, is it? It's always remaking itself.
Always.
So here's a final thought to leave you with. Think about the Boston skyline tonight, all lit up. It's beautiful, but it's also bearing witness to all these decades of transformation we talked about. It reflects not just architecture, but the city's evolving identity, the spirit of its people. So maybe take a look at your own city skyline. What story does it tell you about where it's been and where it might be going?